The lecture hall of the Galactic Military Academy gleamed with bioluminescent panels, casting a soft blue glow across the assembled cadets. Representatives from 47 species sat in curved rows, their varied forms creating a tapestry of the galaxy's diversity. At the podium stood Counselor Vexthor, a Zentari with crystalline skin that refracted light into dancing rainbows. Today's briefing concerns the most dangerous species classification in known space, Vexthor began, his voice resonating through the translation matrix. Deathworlders. A collective murmur rippled through the audience. Diana, seated near the back, shifted slightly in her chair. The human cadet had grown accustomed to these lectures over her 6 months at the academy. But something about today's session made her uneasy. Deathworlders, Vexthor continued, evolve on planets so hostile that merely surviving to sentience requires adaptations we consider extreme. He manipulated the holographic display, showing a rotating planet scarred with storm systems and tectonic fractures, gravity 2 to 3 times galactic standard, atmospheric oxygen levels that would be toxic to most species, predators at every turn, disease, natural disasters. A Velian cadet raised a tentacle. Counselor, how many Deathworld species have achieved spaceflight? 7 confirmed, Vexthor replied. Most remain isolated by council mandate. Their psychology is fundamentally incompatible with civilized society. He pressed another control, and the display shifted to show various creatures. Deathworlders cannot be reasoned with in conflict. They possess what we call persistence hunting instincts. They simply will not stop. Diana's fingers tightened on her datapad. Beside her, Leo, another human cadet and her closest friend at the academy, caught her eye. His expression remained neutral, but she could see the tension in his jaw. Their pain tolerance is obscene, Vexthor continued, warming to his subject. What would incapacitate any of us they simply ignore? They have redundant systems, backup organs, an immune system that treats their own body as a battlefield. He shuddered, his crystalline surface dimming. And their emotional regulation or lack thereof makes them unpredictable. They form what they call bonds, irrational attachments that override survival instincts. A Klaxian cadet chirped nervously. Are they truly that different, Counselor? Let me illustrate, Vexthor said. A standard galactic citizen, when injured, will retreat to safety, logical, survival-oriented. He paused dramatically. A Deathworlder, when injured, often becomes more dangerous. They have a phrase of fight or flight. Most species have only flight. Deathworlders genuinely possess both options.
And they frequently choose fight. Diana felt dozens of eyes turn toward her and Leo. The secret had never been much of a secret. Humans were too distinctive.
Their planet's classification too well known among those who bothered to check. But the Academy had been careful, diplomatic. Until now. Which brings us, Vexthor said, his tone shifting, to why this briefing is mandatory for all cadets. The hologram changed to show Earth, rotating peacefully in space. 3 years ago, first contact was established with a Deathworld species called humans. Against my counsel, they were offered provisional membership in the galactic community. Leo leaned forward slightly. Diana could practically hear his thoughts. Here it comes. The humans have been persistent in their applications to military service. Vexthor's tone dripped with distaste. Some have even been accepted into this academy. I want you all to understand what you may encounter in your careers. A brave Thalen cadet spoke up. Counselor, are you saying humans are dangerous to us? Fellow cadets, I am saying, Vexthor replied carefully, that Deathworlders require special consideration. Their presence changes unit dynamics. They take risks that seem suicidal. They refuse to abandon wounded comrades even when tactically sound. They form these bonds I mentioned and will act against orders to protect them. That sounds like loyalty, Diana said, her voice carrying clearly across the hall. The lecture hall fell silent. Every eye turned to her. Vexthor's crystalline face shifted through several colors. Cadet Diana, how appropriate. Perhaps you can provide our class with a Deathworlder's perspective? Diana stood slowly, aware of Leo rising beside her. Counselor, you describe our adaptations as if they make us monsters. But everything you've listed, persistence, pain tolerance, emotional bonds, these are what make us human. They're not weaknesses to be feared. You prove my point, Vexthor said. Already you defend your species with that characteristic irrationality. Is it irrational to value life? Leo asked, his voice steady. You mentioned we won't abandon wounded comrades. You're right. Because we've learned that survival isn't just about the individual. It's about the pack, the tribe, the unit. That's not a flaw, counselor. That's why we survived our death world. Vexthor's surface flickered. And when those bonds cause you to make tactically unsound decisions? Then we make them together, Diana said. Counselor, you talk about Deathworlders like we're ticking time bombs. But we're here, in your academy, learning your tactics, following your rules. We're not asking you to become like us. We're asking you to see that our differences might be strengths, not just threats. A long moment passed. Finally, a Corvan cadet stood, then another and another. Within seconds, half the lecture hall was on their feet, creating a rainbow of solidarity. Vexthor looked genuinely shocked. This is highly irregular. So are we, Leo said with a slight smile. Welcome to the future, counselor. The Zentarii counselor's colors shifted through a spectrum of emotions before settling on something that might have been grudging respect. Sit down, all of you, he said, but his tone had lost its edge. Cadet Diana, Cadet Leo, perhaps you would be willing to answer some questions from your fellow cadets. It seems I may have oversimplified certain aspects of Deathworlder psychology. As Diana and Leo moved to the front of the hall, fielding curious questions from their classmates, the lecture took on a different character entirely. The Deathworlders weren't monsters to be feared. They were fellow soldiers to be understood. And perhaps, Diana thought as she explained why humans had evolved to see faces in clouds and name constellations, that understanding would be Earth's greatest contribution to the galaxy.